Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Chronograph. This is the 41mm wide version with the all dark gray / black dial. There's different versions of this dial. And this, of course, is in steel, which the Royal Oak was originally intended for. The Royal Oak originally came out in 1972 by Audemars Piguet, as designed by the famed watch designer Gerald Genta. And I have studied Gerald Genta's work for several years now, and one of the conclusions that I've come to is that Gerald Genta was really a bracelet designer. He liked bracelets, he liked the way that plays with light, he liked metal, and adding a timepiece or part of the element to tell the time was almost secondary. In fact, the dials that he designed were very simple. This version with the chronograph, as well as other complications available in the Royal Oak collection, came later. For him, he wanted a simple, legible dial, time only. He invented what they sort of call the hot dog on a stick hands that are more popular in the Patek Philippe Nautilus, which is also a design that he came up with. Over the years, in trying to modernize this, Audemars Piguet came up with slightly more angled hands and hour markers that you can see here if you look a little bit more closely. As a luxury sports style watch, I don't know that a lot of people are going to use this chronograph for timing purposes, but it does add a little bit of visual interest to the dial, and the chronograph pushers are always cool. Nice action to the pushers here, though you do need to screw and unscrew them, which is good for water resistance, but it's not the type of thing that I like. I find it a little bit annoying there. But again, with a watch like this, you're probably not going to be using the chronograph complication all that often. The movement inside is produced by Audemars Piguet. It's an automatic movement with a chronograph mechanism on top. About 40 hours of power reserve. Very nicely finished movement, but I wouldn't say that it is a technically sophisticated or modern movement. It's very much an old school movement produced in an old school way, and it's nice. Unfortunately, you cannot see the movement inside the case. It just says Royal Oak on the back there. If you could, you'd see a nice gold automatic rotor and an overall high level of finishing. But again, this is not the most sophisticated movement in a watch of this class. I think Patek Philippe's is a little bit more sophisticated, and there's other ones out there. The chronograph version of this is a little bit thicker. And again, this is the 41mm wide case of the Royal Oak. The majority of Royal Oaks out there, at least the popular ones today, are 39mm wide. It wears large for 39mm because of the lug structure, and it's one piece. Audemars Piguet does a very good job with the case and the bracelet. Audemars Piguet has a partner that produces the cases and bracelets for them, and these are time consuming. And one of the reasons that this watch cost as much as it did, there's an interesting story that Audemars Piguet likes to tell, that when the Royal Oak first came out in the early 70s, they had on an ad, I think I saw one, where it essentially said that this is a watch with the price of a gold watch, but in steel. And it was kind of a pretentious thing to say, actually, but it was true that it was definitely priced like a gold watch. And the reason was because of the complexity of machining the bracelet. There are a lot of interesting areas of polish, like this very broad beveled edge here. And the overall level of finishing is excellent. Audemars Piguet does a very nice job with the dial components. Quality's there. You don't see a lot of flaws or anything like that. It's definitely something which is sort of close to that perfection that I think you want in a watch that is this price. Lower priced watches, you start to look at them closely, you'll see little flaws and things in the dial. And I'm not saying that this is, without any reproach, but this is a very high quality dial and overall construction on the watch. One of the things that I was worried about with the Royal Oak bracelet was that it was going to pull hair on my arm, and that's not something that happened at all. You can see here that there's a relatively discernible level of space between the links that allows for some bend and movement, which actually helps make it very, very comfortable. One of the things that you can't really see is in these smaller links, the hole for the bar is a little bit larger than it needs to be, which allows for some of this movement. So I found this bracelet to not only be comfortable and very wearable, but not pull my arm hair, which is definitely a good thing. The Audemars Piguet Royal Oak is a classic, and it's basically my favorite of the class. Probably the most well-known competitor would be the Patek Philippe Nautilus. I happen to like, style-wise, the Royal Oak more, and of course the most noticeable element of any Royal Oak is this 8-sided octagonal bezel with this distinctive shape. It's a great watch. It's a classic. Is it something that everyone needs to own in their collection? No, because it does come with a large expense, and it sort of is a lifestyle product. When you wear one of these watches, you are part of a class of people that have a royal oak, and that's something that a lot of people want, but not everyone does. But it's definitely a great timepiece, and there's a lot of good reasons why the design has carried so well. Something like this, because of when it was made, for me is at an apex of mechanical luxury sport style watches. This was before quartz came into play, and there was a lot of research and development around these watches that were for active purposes, but also for people who had a lot of money. So the perfect example would be somebody who wanted to wear a watch like this on their yacht, on the deck, doing some things, being active, but it's all part of that sort of luxury lifestyle. Price for the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Chronograph in steel with a 41mm wide case is $24,300. You can see the full review on aBlogtoWatch. Thanks.